What is up, my fellow vapors? Clifford here again with the Vapor Realm. So glad that you guys are all here with me for this one. I was thinking for this installment I would try to decipher the difference between variable voltage and variable wattage. I feel like it's a difference that a lot of people still have a hard time deciphering, and I'm still asked this question by some of my friends. And I've seen that there are other videos here that help to explain the difference, but I feel like some of them still don't do the best job, and there's still some confusion out there. So hopefully this will help answer any questions you guys still have, and or at least make you think of some better questions to ask me. So before we get started, I think I'll have a vape. So, variable voltage, VV, variable wattage, VW. Voltage V, wattage P, wattage power P, boom. So, except when the V looks like a U. Like here on the MVP, for some reason the V looks just like a U. And when I go to adjust the voltage, the little letter there looks awfully like a U. It's supposed to be a V though. So sometimes it looks like a U, it's supposed to be a V, that's voltage. Wattage, power, boom, looks like a P, almost always looks like a P. There are two different ways to do the same thing. And what they do is adjust the heat that your coil is putting off. So, and they both work the same way. So either one, if you increase it, you're increasing the heat that your coil is putting off, giving you a warmer vape. A warmer vape brings out more of the flavor and the nuances of your juice. So usually turning it up a little bit makes it better up until a point. At some point, it gets too much, it gets a little burnt taste, it's no longer very good, so you've turned it up too high, so you need to turn it back down a little bit. Opposite, if it's too low, it's going to be a cooler vape, and you're not going to get all that the vape has to, that the juice has to offer. So there's usually, for each juice, kind of like a sweet spot that juice vapes perfectly at. And that's going to depend on the juice and depend on the person, whether you like a cooler or warmer vape. But to find that sweet spot, you can either use voltage or wattage. Voltage is the easiest one to understand, so I will start by explaining that one. For variable voltage, whatever you set the voltage at is the voltage that is going to be going to your coil. So on this Pro Tank, I'm going to set it at 4 volts. Boom. I'm going to say that 4 volts I'm going to like on here. 4 volts on here is perfect. That is just what I want. So at 2 ohms, 4 volts is what I like. But let's say I switch this tank for this Kanger MT3. And let's check the resistance on here. It'll come up. Boom. The resistance on here is a little bit higher. This resistance is at 2.4 ohms. So our resistance, compared to the Pro Tank, has gone up. So I'm going to leave it set at my 4 volts. Pretty good, but it needs to be a little bit warmer. So I'm going to go to my voltage and I'm going to crank it up to like 4.3 volts. That's much better. So now the vape that I just got off of that, after adjusting it higher, is about the same vape, temperature-wise, as the vape I got off of this. So why did I need to adjust the voltage to get the same vape? Because they had different resistances. Now, what does that mean exactly? So every coil has its own resistance. And resistance literally is like resistance to flow. So you've got your voltage coming, it's going to go to your coil from your battery. It's going to hit the resistance of your coil. So if you really like 4 volts and your resistance is 2 ohms, it's going to give you this much, however much heat, and that's what you like. If your resistance, if you put on a different tank and the resistance is higher, like my other, the green tank, its resistance is higher, I left the voltage the same. And since there's more resistance, it's resisting more of that flow of electricity, and now I'm getting less heat with the same amount of voltage because the resistance has gone up. More flow is being resisted, less is getting there, less heat. So as my resistance, as I'm changing a tank, or as my resistance is going up, I need to adjust the voltage up with it to get the same amount of heat. Conversely, if I'm changing tanks and my resistance is going down, and I'm using the same voltage, I'm now going to get more heat. So as my resistance goes down, I want to change the voltage down to get that same amount of heat that I was getting. So with variable voltage, as your resistance changes, you need to change your voltage to get you the vape that you want. Now, with variable wattage, it's a little bit different. Variable wattage, go back to here, we already know that this resistance is 2.5 now. So I'm going to set it to 9.5 watts. Perfect. I love the heat that 9.5 watts is giving me on this resistance on this tank. So now let's say I switch. Now I'm going back down in resistance. My resistance on there was 2.5. Now I'm going back down to 2 ohm resistance. So normally with my voltage, my resistance going down, I have to change the voltage back down to get the same vape I was getting on that. But with variable wattage, I don't have to. Perfect. Now why didn't I have to change it this time? With variable wattage, your voltage is regulated to give you the heat that your wattage gave you. So let's make that not confusing. Wattage is like picking your heat, and voltage is like finding your heat. So with 9.5 watts, I'm always going to get that vape, no matter what the resistance is. So as this is changing, as long as my wattage is set the same, the vape will stay relatively the same. With voltage, as my resistance changes, I have to reset the voltage to find that good vape that I like. So if you're only using one tank, and you're getting new coils and they're always the same resistance, and your resistance isn't really ever changing, then the difference between power and voltage is no longer there. They both now do the same thing. The only difference comes when you're changing your resistances. If you're changing tanks frequently, then it is more convenient to use variable wattage because you can set it and forget it. You can set it to the heat that you like, and it will regulate your voltage to give you that heat no matter what your resistance is. So there's no difference. One is not better than the other. Regulated power, variable wattage, is just easier when you're moving things around more, or when your resistance is changing more. However, you could do the same thing with either or. So let's say right now you have your Ego Twist, which is or any kind of battery with a twisting bottom. That's only variable voltage. So as you're changing resistances, as you're changing tanks and stuff, you'll need to adjust that voltage. You would need regular wattage, which is on nicer devices, to not have to do that as much. However, I would personally say that regulated wattage on its own should not be the reason to get a new device. I wouldn't spend another $50 to $200 to get a device just so that I could have regulated wattage. It's not that big of a deal, especially on your twist battery. It's so easy to adjust the voltage that it's not saving you that much time or energy or confusion. So while it's nice having it, it's not necessarily, you don't really need to buy a device just to get that. You'll get the same vape using your Voltage, you'll just have to find it more. So those are some of the differences. The main points being that you're either using variable voltage or variable wattage, not both. You're controlling either or, and variable voltage is like finding your sweet spot. Variable wattage is like finding and then leaving your sweet spot. Like you find it and it'll always be there. So some pluses there. Right now, most beginner devices and most intro starter kits are only variable voltage, and I really feel like that is gonna be starting to change pretty soon. Variable wattage is just easier to use, and with the market the way it is, with so many tanks and different tanks coming out, and so many people rebuilding their things, variable wattage just makes more sense to have. And so I imagine pretty soon all devices will be regulated power, variable wattage, and not variable voltage. But for right now, don't feel like you need to buy a new device just to get variable wattage. But it is handy, and if you have it, you should definitely use it. But if you guys have any other questions, comments, or concerns about this topic or any other e-cig related topic, or if you have any ideas for new videos that I should do over different questions you guys may have, or over different products and things that I could use and test out for you guys, please let me know in the comments section. Also, definitely subscribe. I have a bunch of other videos, and I'll be putting out some more here in the future as well. So just keep up to date with everything. And I just really appreciate you guys watching this video. I will see you guys later. Let's keep vaping.